Once upon a time, in the bustling heart of Lagos, Nigeria, lived a young girl named Amarachi, whose name meant grace of God. Her life had once been peaceful and joyful. She grew up in a loving home in Enugu with her mother, Neka, a woman known for her warmth and deep faith. But everything changed when Amarachi was just 12 years old. Her mother died suddenly of an illness that swept through their town. Her father, Chief Nduka, was a well-respected businessman who relocated the family to Lagos shortly after the burial to start afresh. In Lagos, life was different. The air was full of ambition, the roads alive with honking danfos, and the houses tall and tightly packed. But what changed most for Amarachi was the woman her father married just 1 year after her mother's passing, Maureen. At first, Maureen acted sweet, smiling and feeding Amarachi jollof rice and meat pies. But over time, the sweetness faded like stale Gary. Her eyes grew sharp, her tongue like pepper, and her heart, Amarachi believed, was as dark as midnight. Maureen could not stand Amarachi's beauty. At just 16, Amarachi had blossomed into a striking young woman. Her skin glowed like bronze in the sun, and her quiet nature drew people to her. Everywhere she went, neighbors praised her. Maureen felt threatened. She feared that Amarachi would one day outshine her own daughter, Chisholm, who was lazy, entitled, and known in the area for gossip and quarrels. Chief Nduka traveled a lot for business. He was gone weeks at a time, and during those moments, Maureen showed her true colors. Amarachi became the housemaid, cooking, sweeping, fetching water, doing schoolwork late into the night by candlelight. But she endured. For her mother's sake, she kept her spirit pure. One rainy Thursday, Chief Nduka left for a business trip to Abuja. Maureen saw it as the perfect opportunity. "I'll cook for you today," she said to Amarachi that evening, smiling strangely. Amarachi's stomach turned, but she forced a nod. "Thank you, Ma." That night, Maureen made a pot of ogbono soup with pounded yam. She set aside a portion and carefully mixed a white powder into Amarachi's plate, a poison she got from a herbalist in Mushin. But that night, as Amarachi sat on the edge of her bed, she wept. Not from hunger or pain, but a deep, overwhelming loneliness. "If only you were still here, Mama," she whispered, clutching the old wrapper her mother used to wear. As she slept, her mother came. In the early hours before dawn, a light wind blew through Amarachi's room, and a soft scent of jasmine filled the air. Then, through the glow of the moonlight, a form appeared, her mother. She wore the same wrapper Amarachi slept with, and had the same soft, powerful eyes. "My daughter," her voice was soft but firm. "Do not eat from the plate Maureen gives you. Swap it with hers. Do it before she sees you." Amarachi woke up with a jolt. It was just 5:30 a.m. She tiptoed into the kitchen and found the covered plates of food still on the counter. One was labeled Amarachi and the other Chisholm. Maureen was fast asleep. Without hesitation, Amarachi switched the contents. Then she placed her mother's wrapper on the kitchen chair and whispered, "Thank you, Mama." Later that morning, Maureen insisted Amarachi eat the food in front of her. "So you don't go and throw it away," she said coldly. Amarachi forced a smile and sat with the plate. But just as she lifted the first ball of yam, Maureen screamed from inside, "Chisholm, are you okay?" They rushed in to find Chisholm vomiting violently on the floor. Her face was pale, her eyes rolled back. Maureen began screaming. Neighbors gathered quickly. Someone called an ambulance, another called the police. At the hospital, tests revealed poison in Chisholm's blood. By afternoon, the police returned with Amarachi and Maureen for questioning. Amarachi told them everything, including the dream about her mother's spirit. Some laughed, but the food was tested. The other plate still held traces of the poison. Maureen broke down under interrogation. She confessed her plan had failed, and her own daughter had eaten the meal meant for Amarachi. Maureen was charged and taken away. Chief Nduka returned from Abuya to a house filled with shame. He wept for his blind trust and begged Amarachi for forgiveness. But Amarachi, now 17, had grown stronger. She forgave him but requested to live on her own. Through help from a local church, she got a scholarship and a small apartment in Surulere. Every night she placed her mother's wrapper by her bed, lit a candle and whispered, "Thank you." For she knew now, without a doubt, a mother's love never dies, not even in Lagos. Months passed since Maureen's arrest, and Amarachi had begun to live a more peaceful life in Surulere. She had grown into a confident young woman, studying hard, managing a small tailoring job on the side, and attending church regularly. But sometimes in the stillness of the night, she would feel it, that faint, comforting breeze, the scent of jasmine, the same presence that warned her of the poison. She knew her mother's spirit had not truly left. One evening, an old woman named Mama Ifeoma, who lived a few streets away, approached Amarachi with a strange request. She had heard Amarachi was the girl whose stepmother tried to poison her. "Your mother was a powerful woman," Mama Ifeoma said, her eyes sharp with wisdom. "She left something for you, a calabash, hidden before her death, and it's time you claimed it." Part 2. The Calabash of Protection. Amarachi was skeptical at first. "My mother, she was just a loving mother, not a prophetess." Mama Ifeoma smiled. "She was more than you knew." Guided by the old woman, Amarachi traveled back to her mother's old hometown in Enugu. Behind their abandoned house, beneath a guava tree, they dug up a small black calabash, tightly sealed with palm leaves and cowrie shells. Inside the calabash was a folded piece of cloth, an old Bible, a mirror, and a red stone that pulsed with a soft glow. "This is your inheritance," Mama Ifeoma said. "Not of money, but of spirit. Your mother left this for protection and for sight. She knew danger would follow you, even after she died." Back in Lagos, word began to spread. Maureen had escaped prison. It happened during a court transfer. She vanished on Third Mainland Bridge with no trace. Some whispered that she used juju from a Mushin herbalist. Others believed she was just lucky. But Amarachi began to have terrible dreams, her stepmother's face, shadowed and burnt, appearing at her window, whispering, "I will finish what I started." One night she returned from her tailoring shop and found her apartment door slightly open. Her heart raced. Inside, nothing looked stolen, but something was wrong. Her mother's wrapper, which always hung by her bed, was missing. Terrified, Amarachi remembered the mirror from the calabash. Holding it, she whispered, "Mama, are you still there?" The mirror glowed. Within its reflection she saw visions. Maureen hiding in the swampy outskirts of Badagry, consulting a dark priestess. The priestess handed her a vial and said, "This charm will blind her spirit guides. Use it when the moon is full." Amarachi collapsed in tears. She wasn't just in danger. Maureen had become something dark, unrecognizable. At midnight, Amarachi lit 3 white candles and knelt on her wrapper. "Mama, help me," she whispered. Suddenly, the air turned still. Her mother's spirit appeared again, no longer faint, but full and radiant. "Daughter," she said, "the battle is no longer for flesh and blood, but I have trained you with the gift of sight, and now you must choose, to run or to stand." "I will stand," Amarachi replied through her tears. Her mother lifted the red stone and placed it against Amarachi's chest. "Then take this. It will protect your soul when she comes." And just like that, she was gone. Days later, as predicted, Maureen came. She entered Amarachi's home wearing rags, her eyes red, her nails long like claws. She muttered incantations, but Amarachi stood calm, red stone in hand, mirror by her side. "You think your dead mother can save you?" Maureen hissed. Amarachi lifted the mirror. "Look at yourself." Maureen paused, and in the mirror she saw not Amarachi, but herself, covered in blood, flames dancing behind her. She screamed and fell to her knees, clutching her head. Suddenly the front door flew open. The police, alerted by Amarachi's pastor who had been keeping watch, burst in. They seized Maureen and took her back into custody, this time under stricter surveillance. With Maureen finally gone for good, Amarachi could breathe again. She started a charity foundation named Neka's Light in memory of her mother to support girls facing abuse and hardship. And every year, on the anniversary of her mother's death, she returned to Enugu, placed fresh flowers beneath the guava tree, and whispered, "Thank you, Mama." She knew that some mothers may die, but their love never does, and some spirits are sent by God to protect what evil tries to destroy. Months after Maureen's final arrest, Amarachi's life found rhythm again. Her tailoring business grew rapidly, and her charity, Neka's Light, had begun to touch many young lives across Lagos and Enugu. One rainy afternoon in Surulere, during a charity event she hosted at a local community center, she met a young man named Obina. He was soft-spoken, with kind eyes and a calm aura. A youth counselor who helped troubled boys from broken homes, Obina volunteered to support her initiative. Together, they began organizing programs, free tutoring, food drives, and workshops for young girls. Amarachi found herself smiling again, genuinely. With Obina, laughter came easily. He never pried, never pushed, but he always showed up. Slowly, something soft and beautiful bloomed between them. But Amarachi's mirror, the one her mother left in the calabash, had been glowing faintly every night. One night, Amarachi lit her candle and held the mirror. "Mother, speak to me, please. My heart is open, but I'm afraid." The mirror shimmered. Her mother's face appeared, gentler this time, but clouded with sorrow. "He is not who he says he is." Amarachi's heart sank. "Who is he?" she whispered. "His blood ties him to the same hands that once tried to destroy you," the spirit said. "But he has not yet chosen his path. Watch him, test his heart, not his words." The vision faded. Amarachi stared at the ceiling all night. Obina, could it be? He had done nothing but show her love and kindness. Was he just wearing a mask? The next day, Amarachi followed Obina discreetly after one of their events. He walked through Mushin, then into a narrow alley behind an abandoned herbalist shop. There she saw him enter a small compound. She waited, and when he emerged, she approached him. He looked shocked. "Amarachi, I followed you. Who lives here?" Obina hesitated. Then with a sigh, he said, "My grandfather. He used to be a herbalist, the same one Maureen once consulted." Amarachi's breath caught. "So it's true," she whispered. "Yes, and it's why I never told you. I was ashamed," Obina confessed. "After Maureen's arrest, my grandfather went into hiding. I've never supported what he did, but I couldn't abandon him. I volunteer and give back because I've spent my life trying to undo the evil my bloodline caused." Tears welled in Amarachi's eyes. "Why didn't you say something?" "I wanted to, but I was scared you'd run from me." That night, Amarachi returned to her candle and mirror. "Mama, I need guidance." Her mother's spirit appeared, brighter than ever. "Not all who come from darkness carry evil," she said. "But love must be tested by fire. You must ask him to enter the place of truth." Amarachi knew what to do. She invited Obina to Enugu, to the old guava tree behind her childhood home. There, beside the buried calabash, she gave him a choice. If you truly want to walk this life with me, bury something of yours beside mine, something sacred to you. If your heart is clean, the tree will accept it. If not, it will wither. Obinna stared at her. Then he pulled a wooden cross from his neck, his late mother's pendant, and dug beside the calabash. They waited. Days passed. The tree didn't wither. In fact, it began to bear fruit again, guavas larger and brighter than ever. That night, Amarachi dreamed of her mother standing beneath the tree, smiling. "You have chosen wisely, my daughter. You have broken the chain. You are free." When she woke, Obinna was at her side, holding a fresh guava. They both knew something had shifted. The past no longer held chains around her ankles. Their love was no longer haunted. It was cleansed. Amarachi and Obinna got married 1 year later, under the same guava tree. The community gathered, friends from Lagos and Enugu alike. Even Mama Ifeoma danced that day. But just as they shared their vows, the red stone Amarachi wore as a necklace flickered. A soft breeze blew, and in the distance, the bark of the guava tree split slightly. Inside, something dark and cold shifted. Because while Amarachi had conquered Maureen's daughter, Chisholm, had not forgotten. She had grown bitter in silence, planning her own revenge. It had been 2 years since Amarachi married Obinna under the guava tree in Enugu. They now lived in Ikeja, Lagos, where their home was filled with joy, faith, and the cries of a newborn son, Nduka Jr. Named after Amarachi's father, who had passed peacefully not long after giving her his full blessing. But peace rarely lasts long when evil festers in silence. Chisholm, Maureen's daughter, had grown into a bitter and dangerous woman. Raised on pride and hatred, her heart had hardened. After her mother's second imprisonment, she blamed Amarachi for everything, her mother's downfall, her own suffering, and the shame their name now carried. She left Lagos for 5 years, and when she returned, she was no longer the naive, lazy girl Amarachi once knew. She had trained under spiritualists in Oyo, learned the art of seduction, divination, and manipulation. Her purpose? To destroy Amarachi from within. Chisholm returned under a new name, Chibel, and opened a beauty and wellness shop near Amarachi's tailoring business in Ikeja. She disguised herself well. With false humility, she began volunteering at Amarachi's charity foundation, Neka's Light. No one suspected her, not even Amarachi, who felt only a strange, vague discomfort every time Chibel was around. But little by little, Chibel planted seeds. She began to whisper to the girls at the foundation, "Amarachi thinks she's better than everyone. Don't let her control you." She gifted Amarachi's staff expensive perfumes and money, slowly drawing their loyalty. Then she moved her attention to Obinna. Chibel began to dress like Amarachi once did in her youth, simple, graceful, humble. She would bump into Obinna at the market, the church, or his clinic. At first he was polite, but soon her words became more intense. "I've heard stories about your wife," she whispered one day, "that she speaks to spirits, that her mother still follows her. Is that true?" Obinna, unsettled, replied, "We don't speak of such things." "But you should," Chibel said, her voice laced with charm. "What if the spirit watching your house is not your wife's mother anymore?" Obinna began to have strange dreams, of shadows whispering, of mirrors cracking, of Amarachi crying blood. One night, Amarachi reached for the mirror her mother gave her, but it was cloudy. No vision, no light. Worse still, the red stone around her neck had dulled. Its warmth was gone. Alarmed, she traveled to Enugu to consult Mama Ifeoma, who was now frail but still wise. "Something is corrupting your household," Mama Ifeoma said, touching Amarachi's forehead. It is not an evil from outside. It is one wearing the face of friendship. Chibel, Amarachi whispered. Yes, Mama Ifeoma confirmed. That is Chisum. She has returned, not to kill you like her mother, but to take everything that is yours and destroy it from within. Amarachi returned to Lagos quietly, pretending not to know. She placed the mirror in her newborn son's room, lit candles, and fasted for 3 days. Then, she invited Chibel for a staff prayer breakfast in her home. Chibel arrived glowing in white lace and red lipstick. Obina sat beside her, oblivious to her true identity. But Amarachi watched. During the final prayer, Amarachi held the red stone in her palm and chanted her mother's name softly. Suddenly, the room darkened. The mirror in the nursery shattered. Candles flickered wildly. A gust of wind blew through the house, and a voice thundered. Your net has caught your own feet, daughter of Maureen. Chibel screamed. Her eyes turned white. She tried to run, but her feet froze. Obina stood up, stunned. Amarachi, what's happening? Amarachi held his hand. Truth is revealing itself. Chisum fell to the floor, weeping. The spirit of Amarachi's mother filled the room, calm but powerful. She walked toward Chisum and spoke. You tried to ruin my daughter, but your heart was already poisoned by your mother's hate. I showed mercy to Maureen through Amarachi. Now I will show justice. Chisum began to convulse. When she opened her eyes, the charm she wore around her neck, a serpent-shaped pendant, turned to dust. She screamed as the spirit blew over her. Her beauty faded. Her skin cracked like burnt wood. Her true face, bitter, hateful, and filled with envy, was now visible to all. Then the spirit turned to Amarachi. My daughter, you have passed every test, but from now on, bury the mirror. You no longer need it. The strength is now within you. After that day, Amarachi was never haunted again. The mirror was buried beneath the guava tree in Enugu, alongside her mother's wrapper. Chisum was taken away, not by police, but by a silent spiritual order from Oyo, who had been hunting her for years for abusing sacred knowledge. Obina, shaken but awakened, apologized deeply. You were right, Amarachi. Evil wears familiar faces. Amarachi forgave him. Let us raise our son in truth, not fear. And so, Nduka Jr. grew up in a home full of light. No mirrors, no charms, no secrets. Just love. And the whispered songs of a mother's spirit long at rest. Some enemies do not strike with knives, but with flattery and smiles. But no evil, no matter how sweetly it enters, can stand against a heart rooted in truth, legacy, and light. The end.